Candy is usually associated with simple pleasures, sweet, familiar, and easy to enjoy. But not every treat follows those expectations. Around the world, confectioners have experimented with ingredients, textures, and flavors that push far beyond the ordinary. Some of these creations blend sweet with spicy, savory, or even downright bizarre elements, turning a simple snack into something far more surprising. Others have deep historical roots, shaped by culture and tradition over centuries. Together, they show just how creative and sometimes strange the world of candy can be. Get ready to broaden your taste buds and explore some of the most outlandish candy flavors ever invented. Let's begin today's video on the top 15 most unusual candy flavors in the world. Number 15. Anise candy. When it comes to candy concoctions, few are as old as anise candy. While it may have been made in some format during Roman times, anise candy as we know it originated in the 8th century when monks in the Abbey of Flavigny conceived the idea of covering anise seeds with sugar. After the French Revolution, anise candies began to pick up steam and several confectioners began making their own variations. While the Abbey continues to create these candies by following a recipe that's reportedly been used since 1591, anise candies are now produced and eaten all across the planet. While few confectioners have a process quite as intricate as that of the monks, after all, their team of 30 uses a copper basin to mix warm sugar syrup on the anise seeds, let it sit for 15 days, and then let them harden. Yeah, I'd suggest taking any opportunity you get to try this very unique flavor of candy. Number 14. Pascal pineapple lumps. First glance, pineapple and chocolate are two ingredients that probably shouldn't go together. However, in New Zealand, the success of Pascal pineapple lumps suggests that they are a popular pairing. A chocolate-covered confection with a soft, chewy, pineapple-flavored middle. The story goes that Charles Diver, who was a chief confectioner, created these lumps due to them being the most efficient way to use up the waste product created from the other candies. The end result was a small yet delicious chocolate that was very well received, and to date, these pineapple lumps have developed into an important piece of New Zealand's cultural heritage. What's interesting about these sweets is that due to their iconic status, they have also been featured alongside other products in completely crazy mixtures. And be it Pascal pineapple lumps teaming up with Krispy Kreme to create a delectable donut, or a collaboration with dairy producer Fonterra to produce a limited edition pineapple lump-flavored milk, it's clear that these little candies are all the rage amongst the Kiwis. Number 13. Bertie Bott's Every Flavor Beans. If you're a fan of the Harry Potter series, then you'd almost certainly heard of Bertie Bott's Every Flavor Beans. It's a popular snack for students at the Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry in the books and movies. They were exactly the same as the jelly beans sold to non-wizards, with the only difference being that they encompassed every flavor imaginable. The fun thing about them is that it was also not immediately obvious what each flavor was, and while some were very good and had flavor profiles such as chocolate and peppermint, others were absolutely putrid, tasting like everything from liver to vomit. In the real world, these jelly beans don't encompass every flavor imaginable, but the range is still quite impressive. With some such as banana, cherry, and cinnamon, they're quite good. Others such as booger, earthworm, sausage, and rotten egg are far from appetizing. However, if you're looking to have a good time and willing to take a bit of a risk, a box of these jelly beans could be a fun purchase. Number 12. The Barbecue Payday. Hershey is easily one of the most recognized chocolate companies, and in 2017 they decided to make a nod to their American roots by creating a Taste of America series. This consisted of chocolates that were inspired by different regions of the United States, and while most, such as coconut almond, Hershey Kisses, and honey-roasted Reese's Pieces sounded quite good, the most American of them was a barbecue-flavored Payday bar. For those of you who don't know, Payday bar consists of salted peanuts rolled over a nougat-like sweet caramel center, and in the case of the barbecue Payday, the state being honored was Texas. In order to spice things up, they added barbecue sauce seasoning, with the idea that it would be like eating a sweetened version of barbecue peanuts. The end result was reportedly quite positive. While the whole thing stunk of a shocking marketing gimmick, the end result was actually quite tasty, according to many consumers. However, despite the solid reception, these bars were ultimately discontinued after their short run in stores. Number 11. Kombucha candy. In recent years, kombucha has become all the rage in North America. In essence, it's a type of tea that's made by fermenting fruit with the help of a symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. The drink is then produced vis-a-vis these cultures, leading to a drink that supposedly has quite a few health benefits. While some of these health claims have been disputed, what some kombucha enthusiasts have begun to do is save the fermented fruits for the production of natural candies. In essence, after the second fermentation cycle, some will take the fruits out of the mixture and chill them in the fridge or freezer. According to some, these fermented candies are rich in probiotics that promote a balanced gut and are partially predigested and therefore easier on our bodies to get nutritional gains out of. All in all, able to improve our mood and promote calm and balance in our bodies. And while these unconventional fruits cannot be found in stores, you may want to take a stab at making them if you are feeling adventurous. Number 10. Salsa. Mexico is a country that's known for its rich culinary tradition. Yet, one Mexican snack that's strange for many North Americans is salsa. Combining the word salsa for sauce with a misspelling of the last two syllables of the word spaghetti, this sounds like the name of a marinara-slathered Italian pasta dish. However, the reality is anything but. That's because salsa is the word used to describe noodle-like watermelon-flavored gummies covered in a fine chili tamarind powder and crystallized sugar. A packet of tamarind sauce acts as the fruity salsa, with many likening the runny consistency to packaged gravy. While this may sound far from appetizing, the mix of sweet, sour, and spicy is loved by many Mexicans. And despite being quite sticky and messy, it's actually meant to be eaten with your hands rather than with a fork. I should also note that salsa is quite mainstream, and some chefs have even gone so far as to incorporate salsa into more conventional meals. So, while salsa may be a bit out of the ordinary, I suggest giving it a try when you can. Number 9. Candied violets. When you see a beautiful bunch of violets growing in a garden, the last thing you'd probably think of doing is going over and taking a bite. Yet, for some, candied violets are a go-to sweet for desserts and garnishes. Used in cooking ever since the ancient Greeks added violet petals to their wines thousands of years ago. In later years, they would go on to become a favorite of the English. Through all, the Tudors and the Victorians loved to use violets to garnish salads. The Elizabethans opted to use candied violets to flavor creams, curds, and tarts. Even royals such as King Edward I was a huge fan of violet sugar. In more recent years, violets have often been turned into a violet cream that's inserted into chocolate, with some even going so far as to turn it into a fondant. If that wasn't cool enough, they can be made at home too, with the one caveat being that they have to be completely organic and pesticide-free in order to not be the growing place for harmful compounds during the sweetening process. And while the slightly floral flavor isn't something that's agreeable to everyone, if you ever see it, try it. Number 8. Toe of Satan lollipop. Most of the time, candies are made for people to enjoy. However, I can't say the same goes for the toe of Satan lollipop. Made using a variation of chili extract that comes in at an insanely high 9 million Scoville units, the concoction is even hotter than the 2.2 million Scoville units attributed to the Carolina Reaper, or the 5 million units attributed to the heavy-duty pepper spray. In order to make these vile candies, the workers in the factory have to wear full hazmat suits and respirators to avoid being hurt by the fumes, with the funny thing being that in an interview, even the creator of the lollipop could barely handle the heat. What's interesting about these candies is that, beyond their substance, they're also quite unique in terms of how they got their name. According to the lollipop's creator, he was watching an episode of the popular YouTube channel Good Mythical Morning when he saw Rhett and Link try ghost peppers while on air. After trying it, Rhett exclaimed, "I feel like I just bit the toe of Satan, and ever since, the name has stuck." In any case, unless you're willing to undergo the extreme heat, I'd suggest staying away from this flaming hot lollipop. Number 7. Nurungi. Rice is easily one of the most versatile foods on the planet. Yet, one used that's a little bit less conventional than most is nurungi. Popular in both China and South Korea, nurungi is, in essence, a candy made of burnt rice. You see, with modern rice cookers, burnt rice is rarely a problem. However, in rice cookers that are either old or of poor quality, when there's too little water, too much heat, or too much time spent cooking, the rice can start to burn and therefore create a tasty brown crust on the bottom. Dangerous naturally occurring chemicals aside, the burning process is beneficial because it creates a flavor profile similar to slightly burnt popcorn. While some absolutely love it, others don't go for it at all. And while it can be made at home, given the right mix of substandard cooking tools and techniques, there are now many companies that get the flavor very close in an artificial candy sans the possible carcinogenic burning. I should also advise you that when you eat these candies, it's usually best to suck on them rather than chew, as they tend to have a bit of a sticky middle that can be a terror for your teeth. In any case, while I do suggest trying it at some point, Nurungi is certainly a hit or miss, depending on your palate. Number 6. Vegemite chocolate. Australia is a strange place. It's filled with dangerous animals, fun accents, and crazy fit people. It's unlike any other corner of the planet. Yet, perhaps the one thing that really sets Australia apart is its love of Vegemite. Made using brewer's yeast alongside concentrated extracts of onion, malt, and celery, it has a strong, salty, and meaty flavor. And while often disliked by those outside of Australia, it's weirdly a hit within the country. Yet, in 2017, things ramped up to a whole new level when chocolate maker Cadbury decided to roll out a line of Vegemite chocolate. Made by mixing chocolate and Vegemite, it was a risky move. Through all, while executives were trying to create a flavor profile that would get people talking, there were fears that publicity would be negative rather than positive. However, the fears were short-lived as the product launch proved to be a success. In just 3 weeks, shops sold out of the 1.2 million blocks of the limited edition Cadbury Vegemite, creating a thriving resale market online. According to the company's marketing executives, Cadbury Vegemite managed to achieve 890,000 impressions and an engagement rate of 11%, which is insane considering that during that quarter, Cadbury set a benchmark of just 3.3%. And while Cadbury didn't decide to continue the flavor's run after the marketing campaign was over, what is clear is that Vegemite chocolate was a smashing success despite its questionable flavor profile. Number 5. Kit Kats. It's hard to hate on Kit Kats. First launched in 1935, the brand has since taken the world by storm, as a mix of wafer with a light chocolate coating has been agreeable to the taste buds of consumers from around the world. However, what sets Kit Kat apart is that unlike many other chocolate brands, they are willing to take significant risks in creating Kit Kat flavors that are nothing if not strange. Generally speaking, these inventive flavors come out of Japan and range from relatively benign to absolutely insane. For example, there are some such as maple and hot cake that sound like a potentially good mix. However, others such as wasabi, apple vinegar, baked potato, and sports drinks sound a bit more questionable. Yet, despite the weirdness, Japanese consumers continue to buy them, and this leaves us with one important question: why is Japan so Kit Kat crazy? You see, the name Kit Kat sounds a lot like a Japanese phrase, kitokatsu, which means surely win. In other words, kitokatsu is something you would say to wish someone good luck. As a result of this little coincidence, Kit Kats are a super popular gift, especially for students studying for exams or athletes before a game. In fact, the niche is so popular that special flavors often come in gift boxes with packaging that provides space to write personal messages of encouragement. So, Japan's love of fun food flavors and the high demand for Kit Kats has created the perfect storm for these strange yet sweet treats to be extremely popular. Number 4. Brock's Turkey Dinner Candy Corn. On its own, candy corn is already a controversial sweet. A mix of marshmallow, vanilla, and a buttery caramel-like flavor, many people charge it with being way too sweet to be even remotely enjoyable. That's because of the fact that it's made with a waxy, waterproof coating known as a confectioner's glaze that lacabugs as a main ingredient. Yet, while candy corn lovers and haters may be at odds, one thing they can unite against is Brock's Turkey Dinner Candy Corn. Made in, surprise, surprise, the grand old United States of America, the Turkey Dinner Collection tries to recreate the iconic feast in one bag of candy. Coming with a mix of flavors such as roasted turkey, green beans, stuffing, ginger-glazed carrots, cranberry sauce, and sweet potato pie, the idea is that it can be either eaten separately or all at once to create a holiday explosion in your mouth. Yet, it should come as little surprise that the taste of these candies varies wildly from flavor to flavor. For example, the turkey flavor is almost universally considered to be disgusting, as it more or less tastes like turkey breast dipped in frosting. Unsurprisingly, the stuffing is just as bad, as reportedly it has a taste similar to a mixture of processed herbed bread and sweet candle wax. However, some of the sweeter flavors are a bit more of a hit. For example, the cranberry sauce flavor reportedly tastes exactly as advertised, while the apple pie flavor has fruity apple tang that's passable while not being fantastic. In any case, unless you're willing to put your taste buds on an adventure marked by mediocrity and artificial flavorings, I'd suggest staying away from this set of candy corn. Number 3. Spicy dark chocolate. When it comes to candies, it's rare for the flavor profiles to go beyond sweet, bitter, and salty. After all, it's these three that traditionally go together, as savory is generally not a hit in sweet dishes, while spiciness is generally avoided, with this being especially true in the West. However, one candy that seems to take the leap successfully is spicy dark chocolate. For those of you who don't know, dark chocolate is any type of chocolate that contains at least 50% cocoa solids, cocoa butter, and sugar, setting it apart from milk chocolate that generally contains between 10 to 50% cocoa solids along with cocoa butter, milk in some form, and sugar. Unsurprisingly, this means that dark chocolate tends to be far more bitter than regular milk chocolate, and at the same time, it's also typical for it to have a much more intense chocolatey flavor. It's this intensity that's necessary for spicy chocolate to work, as while the chilies usually used to make spicy dark chocolate are intense, the intensity of the chocolate tends to overpower the chilies and make the spice muted yet delicious. However, beyond the taste, spicy dark chocolate also hits a home run in terms of health benefits. That's because the chili peppers inside of it are rich in antioxidants known as carotenoids, with the most important being capsaicin. This is because capsaicin not only has anti-inflammatory qualities but also increases metabolism, supports weight loss, and when used topically can even be a powerful pain reliever in a pinch. So, having it in your diet is not a bad thing, and while it may mean resorting to somewhat obscure candy flavors like spicy dark chocolate for most, it's totally worth it. Number 2. Bug candy. First glance, bug candy looks pretty disgusting. Referring to any type of food made from insects such as crickets, grasshoppers, ants, roaches, worms that is covered in chocolate or other sweet coatings, these types of candies have been around for centuries in certain parts of the world, but they've only begun to hit the mainstream in the past 10 years or so. And mainstream these insects have become. After all, by 2024, the worldwide edible insect market is expected to grow to $710 million. And while this is partially comprised of dishes that are popular in certain cultures known as silkworm pupae in South Korea and flying ants in Zimbabwe, insect candy is making up a growing percentage of these sales. Now, the interesting thing about this bug candy is that it actually tastes pretty good. After all, despite having bugs inside of it, the flavor is usually masked by the amount of sugar and chocolate, lending a positive experience to those with Western palates. However, the growth of bug candy can be traced not back to its taste, but to its health benefits. You see, be it pork, chicken, or beef, most forms of protein are extremely resource-intensive to extract, and these environmental concerns have been a push behind why many have gone vegetarian or vegan. However, insects are far more environmentally efficient in terms of carbon emissions per unit of protein. And this is not to mention the fact that insects require a lot less land and water to maintain. This is not to mention the fact that many insects are low in carbohydrates and high in minerals, making them a bona fide superfood with great nutritional benefits. So, I think it's fair to say that while bug candy is strange, its widespread adoption would certainly be beneficial for the world as a whole. Number 1. Tootsie Rolls. Alright, no list of strange candies could be complete without the one and only Tootsie Roll. Loved by some and hated by others, in essence, Tootsie Rolls are a chocolate-flavored candy that combines the taste and texture of both a caramel and a taffy to create one controversial candy. Now, Tootsie Rolls can trace their origins all the way back to 1896, when Austrian-American immigrant Leo Hirschfeld invented the candy for his daughter. Since her nickname was Tootsie, he named it after her, and ever since the name has stuck. hand-rolled and sold for just a penny, and it became so popular that in 1905 Tootsie Rolls began to be made in a New York factory, and in 1907 the technique to make their unique texture was patented. By World War I, Tootsie Rolls were picking up steam, and while the company was in a period of decline by the 1930s, a takeover by a certain Bernard D. Rubin and family led to the Tootsie Bar being increased in size and undergoing a change in formula. This proved to be successful, and by the time Rubin died in 1948, sales volume had increased 12-fold. To date, the descendants of Bernard Rubin continue to control the company, and it's been so successful that the now renamed Tootsie Roll Industries is one of the largest candy manufacturers in the world and responsible for the creation of about 64 million Tootsie Rolls every single day. Now, on one hand, there are people who dislike the candy's chocolate flavor for being too far removed from the real deal, while others dislike the texture and feel of the candy in their mouth. This distaste is apparently also echoed by many dentists, as the sticky substance of the candy is known to linger in the cracks and crevices of one's teeth, leading to potential tooth decay if not brushed out right away. Then again, Tootsie Rolls are a piece of nostalgia for many, and there are lots of people out there who genuinely love the texture and flavor. However, perhaps the Tootsie Roll's greatest claim to fame can be traced to its use in wartime. You see, while Tootsie Rolls played a small part in World War II, after all, their hard nature made them a mainstay in the rations of soldiers. They're also credited with saving lives during the Korean War. The story goes that late November of 1950, a group of 30,000 UN and American soldiers were taken by surprise when 120,000 Chinese soldiers cornered them in an area known as the Chosin Reservoir. While the UN soldiers managed to break away and escape, the 15,000 Americans were not so lucky, and soon they were alone in making their escape. In an attempt to fight their way through the freezing and rugged terrain, they requested more mortar rounds, sending out the codename Tootsie Rolls for their request. However, since the radio operator didn't know this, he, believe it or not, sent in an airdrop of actual Tootsie Roll candies. While this could have been a disaster, the soldiers soon got to work making use of their new taffies. Beyond providing much-needed nutrition, they soon found that if they warmed up the sweets in their mouths, they could be softened and applied to fuel pipes on tanks, where they would then almost immediately freeze again in the cold and solidify. This allowed their once-inoperational tanks to run again, and it was thanks to this that the Americans were able to break through the enemy lines. And while the Marines did suffer heavy casualties, many believe that if it wasn't for the Tootsie Rolls, thousands of these brave soldiers wouldn't have survived the conflict. Therefore, while Tootsie Rolls may not be everyone's favorite candy, there's no doubting that they are truly heroic. Unusual candy flavors remind us that taste is shaped as much by culture and curiosity as it is by ingredients. What seems strange in one place can be completely normal somewhere else, and sometimes even beloved. From centuries-old recipes to modern experiments, these sweets reflect a willingness to take risks and redefine what candy can be. And while not every flavor will appeal to everyone, each one offers a small glimpse into the creativity behind something as simple as a piece of candy.